Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. You guys just keep sending me great before and after photos. Thank you so much for following along with the HortTube with Jim Putnam YouTube channel for all of these years, and I've really enjoyed taking in all of your emails and seeing your fantastic work. I'm going to be putting up these before and after videos for a while because I have 100 plus emails. I think there were 8 in the first video I put up. If you haven't watched that one yet, all of these are going to be great. Make sure you watch through the videos because there may be some inspiration here for all of you as we go. And there are lots of different types of gardens we're going to see throughout this series of videos. So again, thank you for contributing and enjoy the video. This shade garden is in Cary, North Carolina. This is Gus and Lawanda's garden. They have been in this neighborhood since 2003, so 20 years, and apparently he has 44 years of in agriculture and horticulture. And this plot had 8 large oak trees on it, so you move on to that and think, well, that's going to definitely be a challenge for sure. And they've had voles and battled other things over the last 20 years, but they've really turned this into a really beautiful shade garden. You can see a view of it here in the fall, and just beautiful color contrast. Here's an azalea with the Japanese maple leafing out in front of it. That contrast between that red new foliage and that white azalea looks fantastic. Of course, they're using things like hellebores and azaleas and Japanese maples and lots of things that we can use in our dry shade woodland gardens. We got to remember when we're doing the difference between shade and dry shade. Sometimes our shade conditions are going to be moist and sometimes they're going to be dry. They get landscaped differently based on that and maintained differently, based on that. But they've turned this into a really lush, beautiful space over the years. You can see the Asiatic lilies there, but I really enjoyed looking at these photos. Okay, so this is Nancy and Chuck's beautiful garden. They're in Zone 7B 8A in Florence, Alabama. So I'm assuming if it's 7B 8A, it's probably up in northern Alabama a bit. And you'll hear me say on a bunch of these design, sometimes it can be hard when you have a low front porch like this to figure out what to use really. Can be difficult to design with that. And so they've come in here and used some really low shrubs across the foundation and just one ornamental tree there. And what they did was they went out into the front garden space, and I said this in the first video with someone else's beautiful garden, that you can use your height further out in the landscape and not block the whole front of the house trying to figure out a way to layer. And so they had this space out by the road, and they come in here and they put in a picket fence similar to what I did out at the front of my garden. This is a 2-rail fence, and they painted it white, and they started working in and around it, and have come up with just this really beautiful display of color out by the garden. Even the mailbox there to me is part of a part of that design. It's very welcoming, and it's also welcoming for all of the pollinators as well. This is Emily and Jim's garden in Holly Springs, North Carolina, Zone 7B. This is right down the road from me in Wake County, same county they're in. So was the Cary one at the beginning, same county that I'm in. This house reminds me a lot of my old house. If you watch the old videos on my channel, I had a front porch that went all the way across. Very similar to this, about 2 to 3 steps to get up onto the porch. Garage over on the right, very similar designed house to my old house, and they really went big on this, and they referenced it as Clown College design, which is something I talk about frequently as my design style. Everybody wants to know what my design style is. It's definitely Clown College, and so that's what they're calling this as well. It looks beautiful. Love the boxes on the porch rail. Love the hanging baskets. I always had great hanging baskets at the old house because I had all that space to do it. Some raised containers there as well, and it just looks great. And you just completely transformed the front of this house. You can see how close they are to the sidewalk in the front, and so it's some limited amount of space to work with here, and it just looks so finished now. This is Eric in Zone 7B in Bromwell, Pennsylvania. He's got this chain link fence running around the side of the property, same as we do up there in Raleigh, and it's they can be kind of stark, so what can we soften them with? He put in this Lonicera sempervirens. This variety is called Major Wheeler, I love putting vines on chain link fences because they go right to the top and then they'll trail along the top of the fence and then weep down. And it's interesting because it also, he could expand this bed and put some low growing things up underneath it, and it almost helps shade the roots of the other things in the future. And I think there's a close up here of the flowers. Of course, all the all the hummingbirds. This is going to be make all the hummingbirds happy and other pollinators as well. But I think it was a great use, using that vertical space and softening that fence. This is Carlos over in Pennsylvania. I don't know what zone this is in. Imagine Pennsylvania has a lot of zones between Philadelphia and the lake. So I don't know what this one is. But again, this is another one of those 2-story houses that really grows up out of the ground, and the windows are super low. It's difficult to figure out how to get height, up against the foundation. So he's done a good job of coming out further from the house and building beds to create that height without blocking, the front of this foundation bed. It looks great out there, great addition to this front garden. Here's an area in the back garden where you can see him starting to cut beds in. And there's the after photo, just looks great. Lots of interesting thing back there. It looks like a very, very private space has been created in this back garden. Here's an area back up closer to the deck, and you can see it's just a, tree with a, the beginning of a bed here. It looks like some the mulch is on top of cardboard to get this bed started. And you can see what he's done with that. Just looks great. That grass path still coming up through there. Just turned to really, an area where the tree wasn't going to be happy, and the lawn really giving it some space. The tree's going to be happier, and everything back there just looks better overall. And the plant, those roots on all those plants planted close enough together to shade themselves a bit, and they look lush and happy. This is a real transformation. This is, I think, the side view on the house here. This is the before, and then this is the after. Look how, the long flowing curves in this garden just look amazing now. And, they look natural, and, all the plants, the way this is all laid out, even the giant trees back there end up in the background in this photo on another lot, just look all great together. So this is David's, and I'm sorry, I actually don't know what zone this is in. I didn't ask for good enough questions when I initially asked for the photos, but I definitely wanted to include this one because they really look great. This is obviously a bed being cleared out, and again, we're going for these long curves, steady curves in our lawns. You can use something like a water hose, to lay these long curves out that just look more natural that way. Then you can see some of the pieces. There's a puppy back there. I think that's a flamethrower redbud in all likelihood in that spot. And then another view of that back into that bed. It just, after looks great. Softens the whole space up. It just looks like a completely different space than the back of the house did before this. And then he went out by the driveway, and here's another, standalone tree in a bed, to the right of the driveway. Not much going on here. And then bam, lots of pollinator plants, tropical looking foliage plants. And, it looks amazing. It's a complete and total transformation of that space. And again, everything likes to be planted close together like this. They liked, having their roots shaded. Everything performs better in beds like that. So thanks for sending these, David. The next transformation is really, really amazing. You got this covered area that has a grill and patio seating area out in the back garden somewhere. This is Matt, and unfortunately this is another one I don't know where it is, but you're going to be amazed by this transformation as we go along here. You can see, this empty bed and some construction going on around it for the paths that would eventually interconnect it all. And then look at this. Look how amazing this looks. That is definitely a, one of the weeping purple red buds. Here's another view from the back side of it, and he actually included a video here, which you can see this entire space went from just this little covered area standing out there all by itself to, some interconnected paths through just a beautiful garden space. He's got great vertical elements here. So upright, narrow pieces that aren't blocking the entire view from the seating area, but allowing you to sit in that space and feel a little bit more enclosed. So thanks for sending those, Matt. Last up for this video is Luke. And again, this is unfortunately another one that I don't know where they are. So hopefully in the future, I see more and more the ones I'm getting now have all the information with them, but I wanted to show this one off. He obviously had a tree taken down, or a tree down for whatever reason, and put it along the edge of the driveway here. And bam, just turned it into this amazing, pollinator garden and, shrub space that, completely transformed this area, softened it all. I'm sure the getting plenty of visits from the pollinators out in this garden. It just looks absolutely fantastic, and it's a year year over year using that piece of timber along the edge of that driveway and turning it into this kind of space. So thanks for sending those in, Luke. Again, I can't thank you enough for participating in this series of videos. If you have before and after photos of your garden, send them to the horttube@gmail.com address. Those of you who haven't seen your photos yet, at some point you will. This is just an unbelievable contribution from the audience out there, and I'll eventually get to all of them. Make sure you include your name and the zone in which you live. If there's any other background information you have, I think that makes the video a little more interesting as well. I'll just use your first name and whatever zone you're in, so nobody can identify you. Thank you guys for following along.